1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
Diamonds in the sunset, now your time has come.
All right, 22 minutes before 11 o'clock. Nice looking day out there, huh?
Oh, beautiful.
When I was in my late teens, the early years of adulthood, I was up in New York. I had moved from New York, and I went back there to live. And I had a job at the Nassau Coliseum, and I used to have to wait for the concerts to let out sometimes before I would go in to do my job. My job was basically sweeping the floor and, maintenance kind of things and janitor kind of things is probably a better way to say that. Mm-hmm. Anyway, sometimes while sitting outside on the sidewalk, because I'm a young kid, I'm sitting on the sidewalk, I would have people come up to me and say, "Do you need any help? Can I get you some food?"
Oh my gosh.
Well, they thought I was homeless or whatever. These are people who want to help me. And one day I was talking to one of the guys and I said, "Are you a social worker?" And he said, "Well, yes, but I think we're all social workers." So he had this philosophy that, we're all here to help one another. And I just always thought, that always stuck with me. And I thought, wow, that is really true. We really all are, whether we have that as a title or not. But some people have that title. Mm-hmm. And this month is the National Social Work Month. The National Association of Social Workers is being represented by the CEO of that organization, Angelo McClain. So we're going to learn about that profession and the work that they do and the great work that they do and maybe even expand it to the fact that we are all indeed, as the man told me, how many years would this have been? 40-something years ago?
Yes.
That we're all social workers. Angelo McClain, you do an amazing job. That's all I need to know is that you're a social worker, and I already know you do an amazing job. Good morning, Angelo. How are you?
Well, I'm very good, Larry and Robin. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate your sentiments and thoughts about the profession of social work.
Yeah, and thank you for calling in. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling you from Washington, D.C.
Oh my gosh! Any big city, and I guess Washington D.C. is among those. You have a large number of people who really do benefit from social work, don't you?
Yes, you can go anywhere, whether it's the large cities or rural areas or suburban areas, where you'll find folks who benefit from social workers and need the services of social workers.
So let's define it first. Going back to my conversation with the man who was trying to help me, and at the time, he was an older man to me. I was like 17, 18, whatever I was, and he seemed older. He might have been 30 for all I now, looking back on it. Yeah. So how do you define it? What does the job description say, if there is such a thing?
Well, the job description, and we often struggle with sort of saying defining what social work is, because it's so many things. But really, the job description is working to a better society and working to help people live better lives. And whether that's working with people directly as a counselor or a mental health professional, or working with children and families, or working as a supervisor or manager, a policy person, or even an educator or a researcher. And we actually have social workers who are in the work on Capitol Hill in either the Senate or the House of Representatives.
So do we separate those who are social workers that earn a living as a social worker from the congressman who also does social work? Or do you feel like they're all social workers whether they get paid for that specifically or not?
Well, it's really social workers. We are using our social work skill sets in all those varieties. So we would say all those folks are social workers. Uh-huh. The general public might think, well, the social worker is that person who's helping work with families directly. And one of the unique things about social work is our training. We're trained in the person and environment, really to understand people in the context of their culture, their family, their community, and their life circumstances, and then be able to put plans in place to help them improve their situation. And we do that so if we're looking at a community, to understand the community in the context of what's going on within a community.
So to help,
social work.
so to
Go ahead, Robin.
so to help, then you also try to combat the illegal drug issues that are affecting the community.
Yeah, for instance, we may be helping an individual person overcome their addictions, and then at the same time, at a social level, community level, we're working to get policies in place that will alleviate the conditions that might have someone turn to addictions.
I worked for a while as an employee of a juvenile detention center, and my job was actually outside of the facility, where I would work with kids who had been arrested, who were now under house arrest. And I realized that the best way I could do my job was not just by the job description, which was to make sure that they showed up for court. That was basically what my job was. But the better job, the bigger job, which was not described in any description, was to try to, try to be an amateur psychiatrist and figure out, or psychologist rather, and try to figure out why did you go down this path, and what can I do to maybe put you back on the right path before you become an adult. And it was not easy. And one of the things I ran into was just attitude. And as Robin pointed out, sometimes drugs were part of the problem, or alcohol. And that's why I know that what you do is not easy. And it just, I don't know how. And I'm guessing each case is a whole new challenge, each person.
Yeah. Larry, I think what you're referencing, that work you were doing in the community with those kids involved in the justice system, you were really trying to address the social factors that led them to where they were at, and you're also trying to address the social factors that would make sure that they showed up in the court.
Right.
And like you say, for each individual child or family or adolescent, those social factors are going to be different. And that's where the skill of a social worker coming in to be able to say, let's assess all those social factors, which ones are having the greatest impact, and how can we help this person move forward.
Yeah, and I guess the training that you go through is, some of it might be classroom type of training, but I think most of it is probably just experience. I'm guessing you, because you've done it for a while, you've got lessons that I couldn't even know because I've not done it.
Yeah, well, we get lessons in like human behavior in the social environment, so begin to understand what's the human nature, what's the human behavior, and how does it manifest itself in the social environment. So you get that classroom learning, and then you get learning from research. What the research tells us about how people respond in certain situations, and then you take that knowledge into the field. As you say, then that's that experience you get applying that theory and that education and research practically.
Are some families afraid that when social workers come into communities, that if they have minor children, that they're going to be scrutinized, and maybe the social worker will involve the Department of Children and Families and take their children away until they fix up their situation?
Yeah, some people refer to that as the seven words you don't want to hear. I'm here from the government, and I'm here to help. And I worked in child welfare myself for a number of years, and the primary job for a person working in child welfare is to strengthen families. And 90% of the families that we work with, we're not going to remove their children. And of the children who get removed from a family, 90% of those children are going to go back to their family. So, so the job of a social worker working with families is how to figure out how can you strengthen this family so the kid can stay home. If they have to be removed, make that temporary, and then they can get back home. But that's just sort of a myth that, they're going to take their kids and you're never going to get your kids back.
Wow. I'm hoping I can get you to share a story or two, or at least one. Are there any stories? Can I kind of try to get you to pinpoints? Let's say you're working with a family and they have had their children taken away, and they are devastated by that, and they realize that they have a problem maybe with drugs or some sort. How do you handle that? How do you get them? Let's say that's the wake-up call. The children are gone. They want them back. They know they're the problem. They know drugs is the problem. And that's the wake-up call. How do you change them to straighten themselves up so that the children are brought back? Do you have a story like that?
I can tell you a story. I was working in Boston, Massachusetts, working with this family, and the mother had an addictions problem on drugs. She had three small children, and I'd meet with her every Thursday and was real clear with her. If A, B, and C are an issue, we're going to put your children in foster care. I don't want to put your children in foster care, but if it's A, B, or C, that's what's going to happen. Or A, B, and C. And one Thursday I show up, and she's this was in a housing complex. She's sitting out on the stoop, which I knew was a bad sign. And I said, what are you doing out here? She said, well, you're going to take my kids today. I said, why do you mean I'm going to take your kids? She said, because A, B, and C aren't in place, and I know you mean what you say. And a situation ensued. Talk with her. I was able to talk her through it and says, look, I'm here to help you. I know you don't trust me right now, but let's work together. Yes, your kid's going to go into foster care today, but I'll be here every step of the way to help you. Kids went into foster care. She, over the weekend, went cold turkey, got clean. When she got herself, she went cold turkey and got her into a treatment program. She was there for about 30 days, came back. Long story short, about 6 months later, she got all three kids back. About a year later, I closed the case because everything was going fine. I ran into her about 3 years later after that, and one of the things she asked me to do when we ended when I was closing the case, she says, can I make a video with you? So we brought out the video equipment, and we made this videotape. And in it, she talked about her experience from not trusting to trusting to really depending and being able to understand that we're there to help her. I ran into her 3 years later, and she says, that tape we made? She says, I go down to the health clinic once a week, and I show that tape to young mothers. And I tell them, if you have a social worker trying to help you, trust them, because they're there to help you. And she used herself as an example.
Wow, that is an amazing story. Wow, so she's actually helping the cause. Now, and I see, oh gosh, that you are a hero. Just right there, that story right there just shows us how important your work is, and probably how unappreciated the society as a whole are with people. We don't know. We don't even hear those stories ever. I'm so glad you told that one. That was an amazing story.
Yeah, and I could tell you 3 dozen stories where I'd see someone 5 years later, 3 years later, and they say, "Oh, you saved my life," or my kid. I remember one woman, her child was in a mental health hospital in the deepest end of the mental health system, and we helped her. And I get a call from the mother like 6 years later, and she says, "I want you to know my daughter's graduating from the University of Kentucky."
Wow!
And the day you came out was the day it all started to go in the right direction.
And I'm not trying to get personal here, but I'm just guessing yourself and probably others who also do social work aren't necessarily paid very well. You have your own sets of problems at home, and meanwhile you have to put them aside in order for you to focus on the job at hand.
True. And one of the things we're really advocating for is that salaries for social workers increase, because we have the same student debt. It costs the same amount to become a professional social worker as other professions, and we should get reimbursed. For instance, this average salary for teachers is about $55,000 to $58,000, and the average salary for social workers is about $45,000 to $48,000. And I love teachers. And not picking on teachers, but obviously the value that social work brings to society is obviously equal to what teachers bring to society.
Yeah, it's the stories we won't hear. It's the mother who you showed hard. What do they call it? Tough love. You showed tough love to the lady in the story you just told, and there was no reason for you to love her, but you showed tough love anyway, And had you not, she might have ended up dead. Those kids might have ended up in a life of crime. I mean,
or human trafficking.
Human trafficking, yes. I mean, you really, it's the stories that won't make the news because you were there.
Yeah, and you're right, it is love, but we sort of don't really use that word love. But and we think of more of being empathetic and more of just feeling for that person and knowing that you can see in them what they can't see. You can see, hey, you can be clean. You can be a good parent. You have that in you, and I'm going to connect with you and help you see that in yourself.
Do sometimes veterans need help, the soldiers that are returning from deployment?
Yes, they do, and we have a terrific relationship with the veterans, with the VA, and it's one of our most prized relationships we have. And obviously, people have given so much for the country, and they come back and they're dealing with issues of post-traumatic stress disorder. The deployments now is a new, they're many and they're longer, and the sacrifices that those families make. And so anything we can do to help veterans, there's actually a program called a Give an Hour, which is social workers and other mental health professionals. They will give an hour a week pro bono for veterans who might be on waiting lists, whatever, who trying to get mental health services and can't get mental health services. So it's one of our favorite, and we're not supposed to have favorite groups of clients, but it's one of our favorite groups of clients, and we do everything we can to help veterans.
Yeah. Let's take a little tiny break, and we'll be right back. I love this story. This is something I say all the time. I say, if I don't know, I'm not a theologian, whatever you call it. I'm not a religious. I believe in God, but I don't know. If you ask me any questions about God, I'm always going to say I don't know. But when you die, if it's true that you get to talk to St. Peter or something, and he says to you, what do you want to be? And you say, well, I just want to be an angel. The first question I think he's probably going to ask is, do you have any experience? And you got it. Angelo, you got experience. Your name says it, Angelo.
Yes.
You've got experience. I mean, you are doing, I think, what angels do. I don't know. It just sounds like it to me. Not to be corny, I hope. But all right, let's take that little break. We'll be right back with Angelo McClain.
The weather was brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. Sunshine today, but chilly. The high 59 at the coast to 64 inland. And clear to partly cloudy skies Thursday night and chilly. Lows in the mid and upper 30s in a few inland spots to 45 on the coast. For Friday, sunny and pleasant with a high of 67 to 73. Saturday will be sunny and warmer, high 75 to 79. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Are you in need of custom screen printing, embroidery, or promotional items? Then look no further and come visit the brand new Legacy Team Sales. LTS is conveniently located off 17th Street next to Armstrong Homes in beautiful Ocala. We offer the best prices and highest quality products for your company, team, school, or nonprofit. Whether looking for screen printed shirts, embroidered polos, or travel team uniforms, you'll be sure to find it at Legacy Team Sales. Come visit our new 27,000 square foot facility. Our friendly and knowledgeable sales staff will assist you in every part of your custom purchase. LTS carries the hottest brands in the industry like Under Armour, Russell, Mizuno, Asics, Badger Sports, Gildan, Pacific, Ogio, and many more. At LTS, screen printing embroidery is done in-house and we guarantee customer satisfaction. Stop by, give us a call, or check us out on the web at shoplts.com. Remember the name, LTS.
All right, 4 minutes left in this interview. If you were ever asked, can you do me a favor and go into the heart of Washington, D.C., and I want you to find some of the people who are the most destitute, who've maybe been addicted to drugs, and what I want you to do is try and help them out. And would you do me a favor and just do that? Oh, my gosh. Would you answer that call?
No.
Would you answer that call? Angelo McClain answered that call, and he's been doing
amazing.
it as a profession. This is Social Workers Month, I think is what we're supposed to say. Social worker?
Yep, Social Work Month, and they have a social workers stand-up campaign.
Oh, okay. And if you've heard the first part of this interview, you know that this is an amazing contribution to all of us, because when we save anybody from a miserable life, then we've saved all of us. I hate to sound corny, but I truly believe all those little cliches. Angelo, thank you so much for being on the air with us. Robin mentioned the stand-up campaign. What is that, and how can we help you?
Well, the stand-up campaign is just a reminder to social workers that we need to stand up for ourselves, because but being social workers, what basically we say is, the campaign's about what we can do for others, what we can do to right social injustice, racial divisions, and the things we can do to help others.
Yeah.
There's a perception that some people are powerless or helpless and voiceless, and that's only a perception. And what we try to do is help people see that they do have a voice, they do have power, and they're not hopeless and helpless. But part of the month is to say it's okay for us to pat ourselves on the back. This is 1 month we can say, hey, I'm doing a good job, because we do add terrific value to society.
Absolutely. And here's the irony. Some famous movie maker will make a film about a social worker who's contributed to everybody, and that social worker will be the fictional social worker in the movie, will be played by an actor or an actress, and then they'll win an Oscar, and we'll all stand up and applaud that performance. And meanwhile, the real social workers, you don't get any recognition, you don't get any applause, you don't get any real amazing salary, but yet you do what you do. And I just, if I could just symbolically stand up and applaud you, I hope you can accept that as a standing ovation from all of us. I know a little bit of what you do. I had a taste of it, but you've chosen to do it your entire life. So thank you for doing that.
Well, Larry, we appreciate that standing ovation. And actually, when we do get movies that accurately portray social workers, we love that, because it helps with the public image. Now, you're speaking about the family in Washington, whether it's any urban city and sort of the deepest part of an inner city. And one thing about going into those deepest parts is when you reach out to people, it's amazing how much they appreciate any little thing you do for them. It's been fascinating to see just how they connect, and oftentimes they'll be the protectors for you. So this isn't not a good neighborhood. I'm going to look after you, or make sure no one bothers your car, and we're going to be protective of you. And so it's an interesting dynamic. As intimidating as it might be to go in those situations.
Angelo,
when you're coming with...
I don't mean to be rude. We're up against the clock, but I love what you do, and I am so happy that we were able to put this on the air. This is an important message. We've recorded the whole thing. Robin will put it up on Facebook and YouTube. Let's hope people share it, and the whole country understands the work that you do and appreciates it. Angelo McClain, the website I have is naswdc.com, naswdc.com. Angelo, thank you. This is WOCA Ocala.
In Wu, a day after the president's revised travel ban is blocked by a judge in Hawaii, a second federal court following.
A judge in Maryland has also issued a temporary restraining order against this new immigration executive order. That's a redundant case, though. The one that they're really going to be focusing on is the one in Hawaii.
Fox's John Roberts says that will, in the appeals court, end up in the Ninth Circuit, where the president's lost once already. President Trump out with his proposed budget this morning. Military spending going up.
The plan boosts spending for school choice programs and makes deep cuts at the State Department and the Environmental